Hi, I'm Tim Zacharias with Cougar USA and your host of Building Value. My guest today is Dr. Sarel Lavy with the Texas A&M Facilities Management Minor Program. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Tim, for having me here today.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited about today's episode. We're going to be talking about the Facilities Management Minor Program at Texas A&M, my alma mater, and the opportunities it affords its students. Also going to be covering the 4 trends we see coming in the industry, as well as Sarel's advice for anyone starting their career. On Building Value, we go behind the scenes of building operations to showcase the people and products that make buildings work and the value they bring to the community. So, can you tell me about where you grew up?
Yes, I was born, raised, grew up back in Israel.
Awesome.
As every Israeli young person, I went through the schooling system there, then went to the military. You know, in Israel, it's mandatory military service, so I did it for 3 years. And after finishing my service, I went to study at the university. I went to the Technion, which is the Israel Institute of Technology.
Okay.
Did my bachelor's, master's, and PhD all in civil engineering over there at the Technion.
That's awesome.
And graduated with my PhD in 2006.
Okay. Nice. I graduated the same year, but not with a doctorate. That's really cool. So you studied civil engineering for all 3,
Yes,
you said, right?
all 3 were civil engineering. Undergraduate degree, I focused on structural design, structural engineering, and my master's was construction management. And then for my PhD, the concentration was facility management.
Oh, cool. Okay. Nice track there. So, it sounded like you had the interest in facilities management early on.
Yes.
With that. So when did you kind of make the jump from, studying and growing up in Israel to coming over to the U.S.?
Once I was close to finish my academic studies, PhD, I knew all the time. I mean, I also worked for 1 year as a road transportation, in a road transportation design office. I knew probably all the time that this is not what I want to do for life. I did not want to sit in front or behind a computer screen and design curves and roads and slopes. Actually, as a matter of fact, the best days on job were when I was sent out to the field to look at how things are done, the construction team, how they put things together, how they work out there. So as I moved through my PhD, I knew I wanted to stay in the academic world. And then I started looking for opportunities. So I had several job offers once I finished my PhD. And as adventurers, I guess both my wife and myself are adventurers, we decided to go the furthest possible from home.
Yeah.
And to end up here in Texas.
Wow.
And took the offer that we received from Texas A&M University.
That's awesome.
So I joined A&M back in 2005, and I've been here since then.
There you go. Well, cool. It's a really cool story, and I think it's great that you ended up at A&M and have that passion for the facilities management. I'm curious what your kind of definition of facilities management is, or facilities manager, because I think that term has kind of changed, and the expectation of those people in the buildings has kind of changed and grown a little bit over time. So I'm curious, if you can kind of define that a little bit, and then how that kind of plays into your curriculum.
Right. The way I see it is that a facility manager is responsible on basically everything that's going on inside and outside
Mm-hmm.
of buildings.
Yep.
And when we say responsible, we don't limit it to only the period of time when the building is in use.
Sure.
It goes all the way from the very beginning of the life cycle of the building. So from planning, design, construction, then use,
Yep.
which takes us through maintenance and operations of buildings,
Upgrades.
upgrades,
Yep.
and everything that's going on during the use. Dealing with people, with users, building users, so making sure that they feel comfortable with what they're given in the building and are given the full conditions to be productive, effective,
Comfortable, safe. Sure. Yeah.
exactly, in all they need to do and to perform or to conduct inside buildings. And then all the way to the end when we decide to either abandon the building, demolish it, upgrade, renew, whatever the end of the life cycle is.
Sure.
So this is how I see facility management. This is how I see the role of a facility manager. And this is what I try to pass on or transfer to our students.
Sure.
At least this perspective.
Yeah, it's really all encompassing, and I think for people that are in that role, it makes for a very different day-to-day, kind of exciting job. Like they're not always going in, like you were talking about earlier, they just don't go sit at the desk and look at a computer. I mean, there's a ton of different things going on, especially when you get into more complex buildings like hospitals and some of the university systems and things like that. So very, very kind of demanding and across a wide array of different topics. So I'm curious, you talked about kind of the life cycle of the building. We talked about the operations and the tenants, the kind of the comfort that they feel. What about on the financial side? How much do you all talk about whether it's with the property management company or with a board, or what role does the facility manager play in budgeting and kind of taking care of the financial side of the operations?
Oh, significant role. Of course, no doubt that facility managers are responsible on large budgets. They should be given, of course, all the appropriate resources to be able to do what they
Sure.
are expected to do in buildings. We cover these aspects in some classes, but we typically, and again, if we talk about how the undergraduate minor is structured, then students are required to take a total of 18 hours, but 3 of these hours should be taken from the business school.
Oh, okay.
So we expect our students to complete one class or 3 hours on something that relates to business, finance, accounting,
Yep.
any of these areas.
That's good.
So we touch on these things a little bit in my classes, but the focus of learning the specifics is done in other classes.
Sure.
That
Yeah,
complement.
That's a whole another major or minor in itself to dive deep into it. I was just curious how much that came into the conversation, because and especially if you start looking at it in terms of life cycle cost, like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
the whole life cycle of the building. So that's been a big focus for us, is looking at that whole life cycle of the building and kind of being there for that whole design, construction, operation, recycling that. But I think that it's important that those kind of 3 main areas that you talked about, that they have kind of influence on, and they can all work together, that the operations of the building, the sustainability or the design side of it, and then the finances all kind of working together. I mean, it's a lot to be tasked with, but it's kind of what the job description is, right?
Absolutely. And as you say that, I emphasize it to the students again, I think multiple times during the semester, that when you look at a project from a construction perspective, construction professionals' eyes, you see, definitely construction is a huge investment, but it's a one-time
Yep.
investment that typically occurs over a short period of time. It may take a year or 2 or 3 or 5 in very complex projects. But when you look at the overall life cycle cost of a building, of a project, then you need to remember that the design construction alone accounts for only 15 to 20% of this life cycle cost. So the rest, the remaining 85% of the life cycle cost goes into maintenance and operation.
Absolutely.
And this is why the role of the facility manager is so important, so significant in understanding it, and also students, which my class, the class I'm teaching in facility management, is an elective class. So students who pursue the minor, they have to take the class. But typically most students who are sitting in my class take it as an elective.
Okay.
And eventually they will go on and end up as project manager, construction managers, construction project engineers, whatever roles and positions they end up at. But they always have to keep that in mind. Working with facility managers and the influence that a facility manager will have on the future cost of their decisions today, this is what they have to remember as construction professionals.
Absolutely, and it's something we love working with facilities managers in that situation, whether it's with a hospital group or school district or university, whether it's a new project or a new kind of addition to an existing building, working with them to get that influence to say, look, we did this on another project and either went really well or it went really poorly, right? We're saying, okay, if it went well, let's do that again. But if it went poorly, let's not do that and do something else. And so when we've been able to have those relationships with those facilities managers and we're on the side where it's gone really well, then that, works out and carries a lot of weight with especially the design engineers on the front end of that new project. So I think it is a very important relationship, and we definitely see that play out all the time.
Yes, absolutely. Agree.
Yep. So, it's a lot of information and responsibility to kind of cover in this program. So can you kind of take us through, if I were to say I want to take this, I want to have this as my minor, what does that program look like for their time while they're in the program?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, as I mentioned, the minor is open to all majors on campus. So students, all they need to do is meet with an advisor, fill out a form, apply for the minor in facility management, and then based on their academic records, then a decision is made whether they're in or not. Once they are admitted into the minor, they have to complete a set of 18 credit hours, so 6 classes basically. The first one they take is the class I'm teaching, the Introduction to Facility Management, where we cover it's actually called Facility Management Principles and Practices, which is an introductory class to facility management. We cover the broad aspects of what facility management is, what it means. I typically bring to this class a large variety, I would say 6 to maybe a dozen speakers from the industry to address different aspects of facility management to the students, or to touch on what facility management means for them, where they come from, to show the students the different opportunities and markets that exist out there in facility management. So we have healthcare, we have education, we have government facilities, all kind of various markets in facility management. This is the introductory class. Then we also have, and it is required for all students who are pursuing the minor. Another class that is a requirement for all students is a 3-hour internship class. During that class, a student must go out and intern full-time, work for either an owner, a facility management department, or a facility management service provider, or a consulting company that provides services to facility management, or property management company. So there are plenty of opportunities, as we know,
Oh,
out
absolutely.
there
Yeah.
to work or to find internship positions that are related to facility management.
Right.
A student is expected to be out there and work full time, so 40 hours per week for a period of one semester, and it can be fall, spring, or summer. Any semester that they get the offer
Okay.
for, it's fine with us, it's acceptable. During this time, they cannot take any other classes, just so they don't have an excuse to their
Sure.
employer saying, I'm sorry, I can't be at work today because I have to go back to campus and attend this on that class.
Yeah, that would be a lot.
Yes. So no other classes during this time, which means that they have to dedicate full time to their employer, to their job, to their responsibilities for one semester.
Sure.
Now, these two classes are required classes, so these are 6 hours. The other 12 hours are elective classes, and students can build their schedule where they take classes, one technical class where they can study HVAC systems or water plumbing systems or whatever they want to focus on technical class. One class, as I mentioned earlier, must be a finance, accounting, business-related class. One class must be a technology-related class, so they can study BIM or other computer software. So they build their own schedule for the other 12 hours, very flexible.
Sure.
They are given the full flexibility to build a schedule, take classes that are of their own interest. And we understand that students, again, because it's open to different majors, have all kinds of different interests when they come into the program. So a student who comes from construction science, for example, will be interested in more of the practical construction stuff. A student who comes from business will probably be more interested in the business finance aspect. A student who comes from architecture, engineering will probably be more interested in design aspects of things. So we give our students the flexibility to build their own schedule, their own minor, whichever way they like, they want it. And once, of course, they have to go through an academic advisor, and once it is approved, they are okay and to take the classes that they have on their degree plan.
Nice.
Once they graduate from Texas A&M, their final transcript shows the major in which they graduated, and it also indicates minor in facility management.
Very cool.
So eventually it is on their official transcript.
Nice. And I think it's a great approach because, like you said, there's just so many, different paths and things that you could focus on in facilities management. So it definitely makes sense to have the program structured that way. And I really do like the internship component of that. We've worked, the industrial distribution school has a requirement for internships as well. And we've actually hired a few people that have come from that school and had them intern here. So I think there's a lot of value in the internship and getting out into the real world, like you said, to see how things actually work. And that's one thing I didn't do in college. I worked through college, but I didn't do an actual internship. And so when I showed up for my first day at Cisco Foods, I was kind of lost. I was like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do today.
Where do I start?
I don't know what's going on, what's appropriate. So I think that's very helpful in getting prepared for
absolutely.
after
as
college.
we grow the program, I see it as part of my roles, responsibilities, tasks. I am in contact with professional associations, organizations, and with individuals and companies, but mainly through professional associations. So I work with, just to name a few, IFMA, BOMA, ASHI, and other, to reach out to companies and invite them to come and help us grow the program, hire our students. The internship is a great program for the students to figure out whether this is something they want to do for life as a career,
Mm-hmm.
but also for employers.
Yes,
because employers can take advantage of this period of a semester, which is
Mm-hmm.
3 months, 4 months, whichever amount of time is, and to test the individuals, the skills, to learn about whether this person is a fit to our company or not.
Absolutely.
In many cases, it works well. So we see statistics that 60 to 70% of our students get a job offer from the same company they
That's
interned
great.
for. But in the cases where it doesn't work, then it was just a test period, and
Sure.
then there is no commitment to continue anything after that period of time, after the internship is over. So this is a great opportunity for students to learn what the career is about, but also for companies
Yep.
to learn what the students are capable of bringing to the table and to their companies.
Right. Keep that talent pipeline going.
Exactly, and keep the talent pipeline going on. So as we grow the program, we invite, we call more and more companies to come and help us grow the program mainly through the internship program that is required for all undergraduate students.
I think that's great. And from what we've seen, this kind of industry and especially here in the Houston area is very, I think it's a pretty close-knit community and seems very willing to help, their members. You talk about IFMA and BOMA and ASHI or TAFM.
Yes.
They, very much so I feel like people are always, talking about best practices or trying to help each other and grow the community here as well. ACOE is another good local one, the Association of Chief Operating Engineers. So again, I think you've probably already seen it. You have a lot of support, at least here in the Houston market, I think from that community. So I think it's interesting, and talk about the opportunities that these students would have once graduating. What is that? What are you seeing? What are the types of roles that they're going into? And, you mentioned earlier that kind of gap that we're going to be seeing soon with the current work population kind of aging out a little bit and not as many filling in behind. So what type of opportunities are these students seeing?
Sure. And opportunities for students are large and broad,
Mm-hmm.
almost endless, I would say. It ranges from working as a facility in a facility management department
Mm-hmm.
for an owner, like a school, like a hospital, like university,
Yep.
like hotel chain, like any other, to working in a facility management or property management role in a service providing company.
Yep.
That does property management and provides property management services to shopping malls, offices, clinics, doctors' offices, and again, very broad, very large, broad and significant opportunities. And then another option for another career is for students to consider or to develop is in a consulting role, facility management. Today there are more and more companies that provide consulting services to facility and property managers. And so students can also find themselves ending up in one of these companies, consulting firms, consulting companies, and help facility managers in various aspects like assessments, condition assessments, energy audits, safety hazards. All kind of design, construction, planning services. So all of these opportunities are out there for students to enter, and basically it's very much up to them what they are interested in. And this is what we try to tell them. We show you these are the various options, but the bottom line is that decision you make is based on what you are interested in.
Sure.
And this should guide you in your decision making.
I, no, I absolutely agree. And so, how have you seen, with it either whether it's a hiring rate like you mentioned on the or the offer rate on the internships, but how well are these students being placed, or what's their kind of higher rate after graduating with this minor?
We don't have official
Mm-hmm.
statistics for the minor. I know, again, based on statistics that we have, that 70% of the students get an offer, a job offer from the same company they interned with for. I don't know what is the percentage of students who accept the
Sure.
offer or choose to go somewhere else. But I would say that, or at least I would think, that the placement is very high.
I would think so too, because I mean, there's so many different opportunities, like you said, and there's definitely a need, right? I mean, there's
Yes.
absolutely a need, and it's, a lot of people that I talk with that are in kind of that facility management role, building engineer type role, they got into the industry because they knew somebody, or
Hmm.
somebody said, hey, I like what I'm doing. Why don't you come check it out? Or it's not been this kind of formalized process like what you've started, and have, this is not even something that I think most students in college would even know is an opportunity. So I think it's great that y'all have this program and they're starting to promote that at the younger level. We can hopefully get some, a lot more younger blood and new talent into the industry, because it's definitely a concern, I think, for most people in the industry, that we're not going to have that kind of talent pipeline coming in.
Yes, yes. And this is what I also see and hear in the different conferences and meetings and professional meetings that I'm attending, that facility managers are concerned with the aging population of facility managers, also with the fact that most of them ended up in facility management coincidentally. So
Mm-hmm.
they didn't plan to be
Right.
there. They just ended up there. Now, not that it's bad. Of course, most of them, very many of them, are very skillful and talented, and
Mm-hmm.
they know exactly what they do and what they need to do and how to do things. But in today's generation, students have the opportunity to study it in school,
Mm-hmm.
or at least the basics.
Right.
And then they have the opportunity to decide that they go out into this field, into this profession right after graduation, and not wait and go and do something else and then
Right.
coincidentally end up in facility management.
Right.
So this is a big advantage that current students have, or
Oh,
the
absolutely.
current generation of students has, compared to previous ones.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, and one of the things that I think has also been common in talking with people in the industry is there's very much I feel like a sense of pride in that role, and being able to keep the buildings up and going, especially when you're talking about hospitals and major institutions, that there's a lot of people depending on that building and the systems in it to do their job, or to take care of patients, things like that. So I think there's a lot of pride and a tangible benefit to this job that you don't necessarily see in a lot of the other opportunities. So, if anything, I'd say it's a shame on us in the industry for not being able to get that word out there a little bit better, and draw more people into the industry. But hopefully through efforts like what y'all are doing, it'll kind of get that
Absolutely.
going.
And again, I mentioned it in the past to different associations, and I'm happy to leave this door open and invite companies and associations to work together with us and promote it to
Yep.
high school seniors, college students, the profession.
Sure.
What is facility management? Why they should
Yeah.
feel or the call to do that,
Absolutely.
and why should they consider doing that as a career for life.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be very happy to work with companies and with associations on these things.
Very cool. No, I think it's great And so, I'm curious, as you've had all of these people coming in and working on your curriculum, what sort of trends are you seeing in the industry or in the facility management role? Kind of how do you see that industry changing?
Based on what I see, based on what I read and hear, and listen to presentations and attend conferences, I see 4 major trends in today's facility management world. The first one is probably very much in context with the current pandemic that has hit us and is going on for the last 2 years now.
Building health and safety.
It's health and safety, exactly. Health and safety of a building of users.
Yep.
Companies and employees pay more and more attention to the workplace, health and safety of their people. So issues like cleaning procedures and PPE and workstations and ergonomics and all of these get the attention of a CEO and C-level, C executives of companies. And companies are coming up with processes and procedures to ensure life and safety of their people.
Yep.
And I think this will just continue to grow. Whether the pandemic is behind us or not, it doesn't matter, because even if it is,
it's a part
another
of life
one
now,
will
right?
come.
Yeah,
we know it will come sometime in the future. So I think it will just keep on growing.
Yep.
So this is one. Second, it's again very much related to that, is the whole aspect of remote working, remote workplace.
Sure.
I guess this is in response to what has happened with the pandemic, but more and more people work away from the office.
Yep.
And so companies and organizations will have to provide their people, their employees, with all the necessary tools to be able to perform their work away from the desk, from the office, from the physical location where they called office. This also calls for a very interesting question of what is the meaning of space, but that's another topic. But all this, the whole idea of managing work-life balance. So if you are not in the office, if you work from home, how do you manage yourself to still be able to produce and to provide what you are expected to produce? How do you treat your people when they're not next to you, we're not sitting physically in the same building?
Yep.
How do you communicate with people?
That's a tough one.
How do you provide them all the technological needs to perform the work away? All of these aspects, issues are, again, I believe it's a current trend we see in facility management, and I believe the importance of this will just keep on growing.
It's going to evolve too, right? Like, I mean, we're seeing some spaces where, employees might not be remote full time.
Yes.
But that also means they may not have a full-time desk either, right? It's almost more of like a shared space model. And so that's a whole nother layer to how you manage the facility, the health and safety aspect of all of that. So
the value of space.
Right. So it's definitely. So it's definitely evolving the role of the facility manager with those two for sure.
Yes. The third one out of the four that I want to mention is, and this has not started with the pandemic, it started probably a long time ago, is technology.
Yep.
We all know that technology just keeps on growing, enhancing, improving with time. So if in the past technology was simply used to manage your own laptop computer or desktop computer, and maybe a little bit for temperature, humidity, and light levels, today technology is capable of doing much, much more than that.
Absolutely.
From reserving parking spaces to reserving conference spaces and meeting spaces and going back to shared spaces. using technology for that, and working remotely, and use of technology for working or contacting or communicating with
Yep.
your home base while you're not physically there. So this probably has nothing to do with, or has little to do with, the pandemic, because it started a long
Right.
time ago.
Right.
But I see technology as another big trend in facility management and the evolution of facility management and
Absolutely.
growth.
Yeah, we're really seeing the kind of the Internet of Things happening at the building level, right?
Yes, the Internet of
you
Things,
know,
of course.
like
Yeah.
we've had the Nest thermostats and things at the house for a while, and these kind of learn your behaviors and, supposed to do efficiency upgrades, things like that. I mean, we're starting to see that type of technology being adapted at the building level, where it's reading all of that data that you're talking about, BAS and other things, and then saying, okay, well, let's do X, Y, Z to improve. So yeah, it's definitely something happening we see.
Yeah. So this was the third one. And the fourth one I mentioned, and again, this one started way before the pandemic, so it probably has very little to do with that. But this is also very near and dear to me. I'm trying to promote it, at least to the students. It's the whole issue of sustainability.
Sure.
And I believe in the science behind climate change and global warming. I know it's controversial. I know other people don't. I know it's a matter of a lot of discussions and arguments and disagreements, but I believe in that. And I mean, we all see what's going on in the world with all catastrophic events and extreme weather conditions and extreme heat waves and extreme cold waves and wildfires, which we just had recently in Colorado on West Coast, and a major extreme rain events and floods.
Yeah.
Yes, which just happened last week or a couple of weeks ago on the West Coast in Washington State, all the flooding there in Canada. In Europe, not too long ago, I think a couple months ago, they had severe major floods that covered half of Central Europe with a lot of casualties and people who died. So I strongly believe in climate change and global warming. And I think this is the fourth trend in facility management, that we need to take care of various aspects of how we manage, how we operate buildings, to take this into consideration. I mean, the whole aspects of recycling and reusing and reducing and reducing waste and landfills and stuff we throw out, and net zero buildings, and how do we conserve energy and conserve water. I believe this is the fourth major trend that will just keep on growing with the evolution and growth and progress of facility management in the future.
Yeah, there's no doubt that I think similar to what you were talking about with the health and safety driven by the tenants being more aware of what's going on in the building and, what type of building they want to be in. I think it's the same as applying to sustainability and that trend as well. I mean, we're seeing that whether it's the employees of the tenants asking, what are you doing to be more sustainable as a company? And the company's turning around asking the building, what are you doing to be, a good steward of the environment and being a sustainable building? And so then the buildings are saying, okay, well, what can we do to not only to make our tenants happy, but to live up to those promises? So we're seeing the push that way, and then also regulatory, right? You're starting to see some additional regulations that people are having to comply with. So both kind of working together. So regardless of where I think anyone falls on the political scale of or the science of the climate change and all of that, it's here to stay, and it's not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that it's a very difficult argument against it if you're saying, if we can make it a win-win-win, kind of what I was talking about earlier. If we can make it a sustainable design that offers the comfort and reliability and safety, as well as being the lowest life cycle cost, it's a win for everyone. And don't see why anyone wouldn't want to do that, right?
Absolutely.
So I definitely agree that that is a massive you know trend that is coming, and it's something that everybody as a facilities manager is going to need to be aware of and be able to
Absolutely.
navigate.
And another aspect of building sustainability, I mean, just talking about it as I think about it, this location, geographic location where we are at
Mm-hmm.
right now, Houston, it's at a very high risk, and we see that. I mean, we just had major hurricanes going through this area in the last couple of years
We've had
with
everything from hurricanes, floods,
floods,
freeze.
freeze, exactly. So,
Hopefully, we won't have any wildfires, but I mean,
yes,
we've had a lot of extreme
exactly.
weather. There's no doubt.
So, geographically speaking, this area or this point, Houston, this whole city is at major risk, and I think it's very important and significant for facility managers here to take care
Hmm.
of their people, their buildings, while also taking into account the environmental aspects of their doings, of their actions, of their operations.
Sure. I mean, and it's a huge opportunity uh, to to both improve the operation of the building and have the positive effects like we talked about. I mean, a lot of what we do, you mentioned assessments and things like that. We'll go in, look at a building's either their pressure boosting system, their cooling tower, HVAC system, whatever it is, and then we can make those recommendations to. A lot of times it's usually a combination, usually energy savings, but we can also do water savings in a lot of places as well. But we can take it, put that in terms of either tons of carbon offset, or how many homes you could power, all of these different things using the EPA equivalency calculator. And it's a huge impact, right? I mean, you look at your house and you think, well, I don't use that much water or energy, but when you scale that up to a large facility, it doesn't take a whole lot to make a big impact.
Absolutely, yes. Totally agree with you on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I agree. Those are I 100% agree. Those are definitely trends that we're seeing as well, and going to continue to make the life of a facilities manager even more interesting.
More interesting, yes. Absolutely.
Very cool. So you look. I mean, obviously, you probably you're working with the next generation all the time, but what would you say are some words of wisdom, or maybe some advice for anyone that's looking to get into this industry? What would be some advice for them?
And this is a great question because students all the time ask this question. If I want to go into this industry, what should I do?
Mm-hmm.
So my recommendation is number one, network.
That's a great one.
Network,
Yeah.
attend, participate, volunteer in activities, events with associations, organizations, companies. Go out, get them, first of all, get to know them, but
Yep.
also get them to know you. We encourage our students to attend different meetings. For example, we have the annual meeting of TAFM that
Mm-hmm.
happens every year, and they're very generous to offer our students free registration for their annual event. There is IFMA events, BOMA events, APA events, APPA, the Association for High School, not high school, universities and colleges,
Okay.
facilities. So we encourage our students to go out, network, listen, volunteer when possible, and learn who the players are, what the issues are, what the discussions are about. This will help them significantly. So this is number one. Number two, we encourage our students to sit and think what their interests are. And this is something we already touched in the past or a moment ago. If they are more interested in the technical aspects of fixing things, putting things together, then this is what they should focus on, study, perfect. So make sure they do it well.
Yep.
And then go and sell themselves with these skills.
Yeah, leverage their strengths.
Leverage their strengths,
Yeah.
exactly. If they are more interested on the computer side, technological aspects, so there's definitely room for that everywhere in facility management, whatever you do. If they're more interested in the business, financial side, then there are opportunities in facility management to do these things. In property management, real estate development and management. So whatever their strengths are, whatever their interests are, we encourage them to develop these strengths and then leverage them and sell themselves that way with these skills. And last thing is take advantage of training opportunities, training, development, learning, attend workshops, again, conferences, whatever opportunities they have, go out, learn, study. Some associations, organizations, they have all the acronyms.
There's
they add
alphabet soup of acronyms available out there. No, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, all of them are great, are excellent, are needed. We do not sell or promote any specific one. We tell the students, whatever you're interested, go do that. Go after it. And this will help you eventually
excuse me,
move or make yourself better in what you do, but also move up the chain.
Yes, absolutely.
Of command and of responsibilities faster and easier.
No, I think that's great advice. And, it's interesting that you started with networking. I think that's really good advice. And looking back now after being in the industry for 15 plus years, I can say that having a good network is extremely powerful. And, I think just from my personal experience, one of the most important parts of being or of doing that networking is being a giver in that network, offering value yourself, not just looking for somebody to give you something, creates a very, very powerful network. And leveraging your strengths, so that's great. Between that and then continue to develop, I think are great pieces of advice. And if somebody follows that, I think they're going to do very well.
Yeah, definitely. And this ties back to what we touched, I think, in the beginning of our discussion. I said that I bring to class guest speakers to show the students, demonstrate the students, or tell the students why they are in facility management, talk with them about their process, their route, their road, their career in facility management. But through them, students can continue and network with associations, with organizations, and even with individuals and companies through these guests. So it all ties back eventually. We bring the students these opportunities, but of course, we can't force anyone to do anything. Eventually, it's up to them to take it up and do what they need to do, what they think is right thing for them to do. We bring them, we present them with these opportunities, and we hope they'll buy into it.
Absolutely. Well, I think you're giving them a great platform, a great opportunity, and access to a lot of great people in the industry. So you're definitely giving them every opportunity to take it and take advantage of that and make a good career. So sounds like you
that's what we try to do. Yes.
Yeah. Sounds like you got a great program, and I definitely appreciate you coming on to the podcast and sharing that with everybody. So, any last thoughts or anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about?
I want to say thank you very much for inviting me. I really enjoyed being here, doing that, and learning about Cougar USA and the company.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming down.
Thank you. And again, I invite Cougar USA and more companies and organizations, associations, individuals to come and help us grow the program and show the students why facility management is so important. in today's world.
Yeah, we basically couldn't carry on our daily lives without it, right?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well,
thank you very much.
yeah, I appreciate that. And like I said, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I've learned a lot. And like I said, I'm happy to, I'm proud of my alma mater for growing this program and for you being a part of it. So, again, thanks again for being here. And we will definitely share your contact info, make it available for everybody to be able to get in touch with you if they want to help better the program.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. I also want to thank all of you for watching or listening to the podcast today, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Building Value.